Okay, so just dive right in. So this is the third episode that we're trying here. Still don't have a fucking clue what this thing is.
That's cool.
I agree. But watching this, editing the second episode with Jimmy and I talking, I feel good about it, but it's still kind of dry, right?
Okay.
It's still missing some shit. And I've got, you two are two of the best characters, human beings that we have here. So like, I feel like that might spice this up a bit. But more importantly, the conversation I had with Jimmy, the more I watch it, there's a central theme there that we discussed completely unintentionally because it was unscripted, but I do think it's something that we need to tap into more. And I think it taps into a lot of other things we are experiencing right now as our home base here in our union, but as a labor movement as a whole. And so ultimately what that is kind of what we talked about was it's not just the Democrats and it's not just the Republicans that are causing unions and the labor movement to be in the situation we're in now, right? That we have to fucking take some of the blame for this. And by we, I mean us as union members, us as union leaders, but the labor movement as a whole is complicit in our, I still don't like this word, but our downfall where we sit today, right?
We have to remember, Mike, like, you got the early 1900s, late 1800s, early 1900s, where people were forced to find means and methods to form a union for better working conditions and things like that. We had people dying on the job, and it took people dying to form unions. And for you and I, we walked into a union hall, we signed our union paperwork. There was not a ownership for a long time. And so as the trajectory of union membership went up, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and they reached this plateau, service representation became kind of and I hate to say it, I'm not knocking any of my, predecessors, but, it's just very complacent in the organizing side of things. So they were representing a membership that they had, worked very hard at, increasing the numbers, and, there was a lot of good movement happening. And then there became this like plateau of union representation, and we kind of lost this
servicing.
Yes. Okay. Servicing.
Gotcha.
The representation of membership. And so I think that there's a loss of, organizing and like the focus on continuing to increase our membership through organizing.
But I 100% agree. But I still hear you saying that the union, basically, meaning like the separate entity from the workers themselves, right? And I think that is something that we still latch onto, and we need to stop talking about the union and start talking about us. We are the fucking union, right? So everything you said, I think, is absolutely correct. But due to the servicing aspect being the focus, the members have now lost what the true definition of a union is. And so now we hear all the fucking time, you're my rep, why am I paying you? Or right. Whatever. That's fucking horse shit. And if no matter what side of the fence you're on politically right now, you cannot argue that unions are under attack, right? Which means you as a working person in your union, your group of workers that you are part of, are under attack. So what the fuck are you going to do about it? Basically is what I'm trying to get at here. And that's not really a question, but I guess I'm all jazzed because you guys forced me to do this here today. And I got the mojo going there, the juices, but anyway.
Well, to be clear,
yes, please.
Unions and by extension workers have always been under attack. Mm-hmm. We were under attack during the aforementioned late 1800s, early 1900s. I mean, Henry Ford shot workers in the street, let's be honest.
Sure.
And all the way through the fights for the National Labor Relations Act, undermined with Taft-Hartley a few years later, a decade
which
later.
Jimmy and I talked about too, I'm sorry, but that's also what stopped.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
We should always talk about it more.
Right.
Again, you're right. We peak 40s, 50s, 60s, and plateaued, and there's been a decline. The attacks have been consistent and been nonstop. What we're seeing now in our modern political climate is the culmination of decades of attacks, where I would offer that people are actually waking up a little bit to the importance of organized labor and the importance of unions. So in as much as a crisis is always an opportunity, also, I think it's fair to say we have a crisis in certain respects in our government and in our workplaces in many cases, but there is an opportunity to shift the focus and the conversation back towards what does being in a union mean, and what can it mean for you and for you and for women and minorities and people of color or anybody else, for young people, for old people. And that is appropriate. And I think that workers will be receptive to it. So in spite of what could be a grim outlook at times and circumstances, there remains optimism, reason for optimism.
Totally agree. But I guess, I guess I want shit to change overnight. I know it's not going to, so that's where a lot of my frustration comes. But I can't help but think we could get from shitty to better much quicker if we can, I don't know if convince is the right word, but educate, thank you. Educate our brothers and sisters and siblings that this is not a fucking social service, right? I mean, what we do is socially relevant, but this isn't a fucking social service. This is your fucking family.
Yes.
If somebody took a dump on your porch or your mom's porch, you're gonna go after them, right? Not your mom. And I feel like that's where we're sitting right now. That's a weird analogy, I know, I'm sorry. But you know what I'm saying? And I feel like we, meaning the union or what's considered, the staff of a union or the leadership of unions are attacked from all sides, including their own membership, instead of our own, the fucking true enemies, right? And I'm not pointing to a political party here, because I blame them both. But business and corporate interest is definitely the fucking enemy. Why aren't we yelling at them? Why are you yelling at your BMST, your business manager, your business rep, all that shit?
There has to be somebody to blame. I mean, our for anything, whether you're in a family dynamic or you're at work or the union, I mean, I think a lot of times people are looking to blame somebody.
Sure.
And so it's very easy to point the finger at like our union rep, go get me more work, go do this, you're not doing this.
Right.
I need, you go do it. And what folks don't realize is like we have two things that we hold all the power. And I don't think that a lot of us really know, I mean, business reps included, know how to really utilize that power. And that is the withholding of labor and the withholding of our money, period. And so that it's the only thing that has made change in history, folks general striking or, taken to the streets, and then boycotting services and boycotting, the capitalistic idealism that is coming from, these big folks in power. And by withholding our money, they're losing. By withholding our labor, they're really losing because, the Jeff Bezos of the world isn't going to go and, deliver all of the Amazon products himself.
I'm totally jumping here, I'm sorry, but that's something in my last night because I was at home angry. Like, what the fuck am I going to do with this podcast thing? I just know I'm angry about some things, and here's my angry rant I wrote down.
Let's hear it.
Well, it's a bunch of chicken scratch. It's a bunch of garbage written down. But the first thing on here was talking about boycott and withholding money, right? And you mentioned Taft-Hartley earlier, and Taft-Hartley stopped us and unions from being able to, secondhand boycott or secondhand protest, whatever. I can't sit here right now on this microphone and tell our members, I need you to stop buying products at A, B, and C, right? We can get in trouble for that because of Taft-Hartley. Am I right or wrong there?
Secondary strikes, pickets.
I guess my point is to call the membership to boycott or call the public to boycott. We have legal ramifications. Limitations and legal ramifications that businesses don't. Right.
The limitation is that a business rep can't tell you to strike. Right. We're not allowed to, as business agents, tell you that you're going to strike. It's up to the worker themselves to decide for themselves. And therefore telling somebody to boycott. What I can say is I'm boycotting Target.
Right.
I'm boycotting. I'm not spending my money on Amazon. I'm not purchasing from, so it's, I can say that it's me as a personal, as a personal decision that I'm doing these things with that encourages other folks to, join. Great. But as far as like our strikes go, we can't even tell our own members that they have to strike or they can't cross the picket line or I mean, we're not allowed to. We can educate them on why it's important for them to not cross somebody else's picket
Right.
line, or why we do, you know,
Right.
labor strikes, but we are not allowed to tell them.
All
"You're
the
gonna strike."
while, Bezos, Amazon, Musk, SpaceX, all these fucking businesses can have all hands meetings, call you in and say, this is why we don't need a union.
Yes.
They can do that, but we can't tell our own members,
Sure.
don't patronize these businesses that are in the butt, right? So, sorry, man, it's just feeling good here today. But one thing, while we're still on this boycott thing, so I'm angry right now, and I'm angry for 1,000 reasons. I'm not here to coax anybody over to my political leanings. That's not my place either in a union where there's many different political leanings. But I will say this, there's a large portion of our membership as well as the general public who are doing these 40-day boycotts of Target or this one-day boycott of whatever. And that shit pisses me off. Why is it a 40-day boycott? What good's that fucking doing, right? Why aren't you boycotting it every fucking day, right? And before the whole DEI thing that forced you to boycott, what about when Target had the anti-union orientation video years back? Why weren't you boycotting then, right? And again, I'm not telling anybody to boycott, but this is why I don't shop at those places and haven't for a long time. So when I hear people say, we're going to boycott for 40 days, I just want to go, well, fuck you, you know?
Actually, I think what's come from that 40-day boycott is people have realized that their purchasing and their consumerism has gone through the roof, where they were literally going out of nothingness to
Right.
places. And, you know, it's the Sunday trip. And it could be, we say Target because it's, you know, in the news right now or whatever, or it's all over the social medias that we're boycotting Target for their DI programs. But there's many of them. You know, if you stop doing that habitual consumerism, you go, what was I even doing there in the first place?
Right.
Buying candles and pillows, and now I have this giant stack of crap I don't need and that I have to purge. And yeah, in the next couple of years, it's just going to cause me anxiety and stress and all the
Right.
things that I have to get rid of it anyways, and it becomes landfill. And
Mhm.
and here we are spending money we don't need to spend on shit we don't need to impress people we don't know.
Amen.
Or
This is
like-
why I had you sit down here today. And by had you forced me to do this today, which I'm so glad you guys did. This is actually feeling good.
Yeah. I would like to circle back around to something you brought up earlier, which is there is a political component to this.
Of course.
And part of what has happened is there is labor policies that are good for workers,
Mhm.
and there is labor policies that is bad for workers. The union's job is to endorse and to promote and encourage our members to support candidates and policies that help them in the labor
Mhm.
world. And most of the time, historically, it is not debatable that those policies have come from the Democratic side of the political spectrum in this country.
Sure.
And
We'll call
Also-
them liberal policies.
also from the Democratic liberal side of the spectrum has come a variety of foreign policy and social issues that don't really have anything to do with labor,
Sure.
that get people's attention. And what has happened over the decades is that unions have had some measure of success
Mhm.
and have in doing so raised the standards of living and standards in the workplace for all workers, union and non-union. And in a weird way, this is something I've been thinking about a lot ever since the last election. In a weird way, we've got things to a place where it's almost as though there's an attitude of union workers like, well, if there's a big enough problem, you'll fix it. You, the business
Right.
rep, you'll
Right.
take care of it.
Right.
Meanwhile, I'm working under a collective bargaining agreement. I've got good benefits. Depending on what part of the country you're at, you might have a lot of work coming. Also, due to most likely, if it's a federal funded job, wrinkly asshole Joe Biden, who's got, in some places like Alaska, where I'm from, billions of dollars of work coming. And so, ironically, kind of paradoxically, it has freed up these voters to now hyper focus on whatever
Right.
issue not related to labor has them wrapped around the axle at any given moment. and so they're going to vote on these things that maybe don't actually affect their lives directly.
Right.
Maybe they don't even actually affect that many people directly. But man, when that's all you hear, or that's all
Sure.
that your social media feed is filled with, or whatever, it evokes an emotional reaction,
Yeah.
a visceral feeling about whatever. And by the way, the left Democrats do this too, but in this particular context, what I've been really pondering lately is the fact that, overall, still in this country, we have it pretty good,
Sure.
first off, compared to historically and compared to the rest of the world.
Mhm.
And union workers particularly have it good. They're, protected by their collective bargaining agreements, and, wages and benefits are good. And weirdly, that has almost, it seems to me, like freed people up now
Mm-hmm.
to vote for folks who have excited them with some issue, and so they vote for this individual.
The social issues.
Mhm.
Social issue usually was what it
Yes.
is. And now we have people in power who are doing the same thing that people in power have always done,
Sure.
which is attack unions and attack workers. But now it's come to this critical place, and it is a little concerning, because I feel like unions are more important now than ever.
Mhm.
And the attacks that we're facing now are the most egregious we've seen in our lifetimes, and maybe the lifetimes of our parents and grandparents.
Sure.
Donald Trump, with a stroke of a pen, took away bargaining rights for
Right.
1 million
Right.
public sector workers. That's
Which
unconscionable.
includes some of our members, the shipyard.
That's right. That is unconscionable.
Yep.
I can't believe, some of the stuff we're seeing is crazy.
Mhm.
And some of the proposals and whispers out there about national right to work, repealing of prevailing wage, this cuts right to the heart of, things we never even thought would come under, question or, under attack. And so it's interesting to me that we have created an environment where people don't vote their pocketbook
Mhm.
like they used to. And I'm not suggesting that the pocketbooks are too fat, that they're already doing so great, but for some reason, that's not their focus when they get in that voting booth.
And I don't completely disagree with you, but I kind of do. I think there's been a lot of focus on this whole people voted on based off social issues. I agree that some did, but this is also 2025, right? Is the LGBTQ community being attacked? Horribly right now, absolutely. But at the same time, when I turn on Netflix or any other streaming service, do you know how many television shows or movies I see that have gay relationships that are completely normalized? That I'm 45 years old. Even 10 years ago, 15 years ago, other than Brokeback Mountain, I never would have seen that. Not only would I have not seen it, but I definitely would have seen it as portrayed as a normal piece of our society and the way society is today. So that being said, I do believe if you look at the trajectory of history, we become more liberal because usually more liberal means we're nicer, right? We're more accepting. So I do believe that social issues like, the trans issue, I hate calling it that. These culture wars, which I don't even think are a fucking thing, but those things did move some folks. But I really do believe it was an economic thing. That's why the election went the way it did. And so when I hear you say, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm hearing you say things have gotten so good because of unions, and we still live in a pretty great country. So people were in this comfortable place to vote based off of these ridiculous notions, right?
Which again, can I just
By
let
all
me
means.
let me just jump in here real quick. When we talk about, and we deal a lot when we're speaking with our membership, and that is like, oh, I don't want the union telling me how to vote and all the things. And I think that again is kind of that social issue versus labor issues, and that is our jobs as labor leaders is to support candidates who support labor,
Yes.
right? And so whether you believe one thing about we'll call them social issues, the LGBTQ, the trans, the people of color,
Right.
women's health rights, whatever the case is, education, elderly care, Social Security. Those are all things that like really, wow, we may be able to lump Social Security right in with labor because that is,
Sure.
that's a very important piece. But, when we need to bring the focus back for our membership when it comes to what we're doing, in the political world, that we are sticking to labor.
Yeah.
And because everybody is going to have a different opinion on the social issues. I have a different opinion than you might have, and maybe different from Bronson and the folks in Alaska. And, it's where we're living, where we're raised. Things are very different than,
It's
in
the one place
Washington
we
State.
all actually meet.
Sure.
It's the one place
But it's the world we live in. We need to be focused in that world.
Right.
And so when, again, we call it chasing shiny nickels in the world of organizing. And that is like, if you have a focus, a campaign focus, and you're focused on labor, and then all of a sudden you're like, women's health, education, whatever the other issues are, you lose focus on the things that we need to stay focused on. And that is creating more work opportunities for our members, and getting our folks to work.
Right.
So.
Well, and the thing is that there are specific policies, especially in construction, that create work opportunities for members and organizing opportunities for the union. And if somebody has to ask, or you want to say in one sentence, what do we do? That's it. Our goal here as a staff member of a labor union, particularly in construction, is to organize workers into the union and create work opportunities for our members. That's one sentence. That's
I
what
never
we're
get
here
tired
to
of hearing
do.
you say that. I've heard you say it that, and I fucking love it every time. Yeah.
I never get tired of saying it. And in that light, there is very specific policies that we can point to that helps us do one or both of those objectives.
Do, please.
Let's talk about apprenticeship utilization.
Okay.
You got a state, municipal, school district, job, federal, how you want to take it, funded project. Let's make sure that 15% of the hours are done by workers in federally registered apprenticeship programs. There is proposals out there. Trump in his first administration introduced industry recognized apprenticeship programs. This was a terrible idea that would have allowed a group of businesses to, with the stroke of a pen, authorize whatever they made up, essentially, as an apprenticeship, thereby watering down what it means to be in an apprenticeship. No checks and balances, no standards, no nothing. We can't have that. Not when we need a safe, skilled, and efficient workforce now more than ever, which is demographics, which I'd like to get into later, looking forwards into the future. We can't have those type of attacks on what apprenticeships mean. We have policies like prevailing wage that and not every state has that, by the way. But the ones that do, it's a key component to raising the standard of living for both union and non-union workers. And by the way, I might add non-union contractors, because anytime you can increase your bid but remain competitive, then the percentage of that bid that's your profit is now a percentage of a bigger number. Right. So these are policies that we have that we need to protect. Things like the apprenticeship utilization is a thing that can be is passed in different places and has been and is. Veteran hire requirements. You can do things called community workforce agreements or project labor agreements. And in those, you can put language that says a certain number of hours has to be done by veterans. What I love, and we've done this in Anchorage, in Alaska, is with our community workforce agreements. If you are building a building in a socioeconomically depressed part of town, you can say a certain number of hours or workers have to come from within a certain geographic radius of that job to
feeding that local community.
Dude, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
I
So
love
we
stuff like
call that here in Washington, that's priority hire. So
I love it.
when you have the priority hire, the preferred entry, which is pre-apprenticeship programs, so you're helping high school kids and young folks into these apprenticeship programs to help them choose a career that's a sustainable living wage with benefits and pensions and all the things, and I think that it's very important, especially with the priority hires, because we're spending our tax dollars on these buildings and infrastructure anyways, right? The bridges, the schools, the hospitals, we're building those. What we don't want is some out-of-town contractor or somebody who comes in, pays their people from out of state some garbage wage, gives them a little bit of a hotel room or whatever it is that they give them, and then they take our tax dollars and they leave again. What we'd like is our own folks who pay the taxes here in our cities and our states, wherever that may be, it's a market recovery program for our states and for our country. And so by hiring local, by having those contracts, you hire local, and so therefore the money, processes back into itself. It's essentially a watering wheel.
It keeps the money here at home.
It keeps the money here at home. And again, we can even extend that, city, county, state, however that looks, but it keeps it here where we pay our taxes. And I think it's really important that, and with the stroke of the pen, that could all be gone.
Yeah.
Well, and with the stroke of a pen, it could all be made too, right? And I say that because Governor Kotek in Oregon just fucking did that, where she required that, you can all Google it and look it up. I can't remember the percentages, but so much state-funded work, taxpayer state-funded work, had to go back to the community through PLAs, right? Now, just a few weeks ago, I saw that I don't know if that was stopped, but of course there's business interests that are fighting that and I think the pause button's been hit, or anyway, I'll Google it as soon as we get done here. But whole point being, she just signed an executive order, much like somebody else we know right now who's signing everything, but said, the money needs to come back to our communities, and we need to rebuild our communities, and why don't we do it with our people? And it just seems like some very simple, easy notions, and not once in this I don't know, probably 10-minute span of whatever's happening here, have I heard anything about, gender or religious beliefs or anything. Like, these are the things we focus on daily here. And so I get real pissed off. I'm not a rep, and you guys are, right? So you're on the front lines having to take shit that I don't think is fair at all. So I'm in these rooms listening to you guys be attacked for absolute fucking nonsense. You guys come in here every day focusing on these very constructive fucking things. And granted, I love both of you. Both I consider very close friends, so I'm going to speak highly of you no matter where we're at, including on camera. But this is genuine coming from me, what I'm saying about you, I guess, right? You guys come to work every day to do the fucking thing. And then you got to put up with bullshit. I'm getting fucking angry. And this is coming back to where I kind of started this, where look, the people you take bullshit from, I still love because they're my union siblings as well. But we got to get it back into their heads that, look, this is on you too, not just us. We need your fucking help because you're our brother, our sister, our sibling, and you're standing next to us in this fight. And without you, we have fewer numbers. And without you coming into your union hall for your union meeting every week, you got 5 people voting for your entire fucking union of 1,500 or whatever the number is, making all the decisions about your contract and everything fucking else. And then you want to blame somebody else because I just don't have time to go to a union meeting. You see why I'm angry here?
Well, I guess this might be going completely off topic, but I think that the union meeting has been the be all end all, and it makes it a little easier for us because we are so widespread that come to your union meeting, get all your information, and for the folks who don't, where I was kind of going with this on the path is like the lack of education that we as union members, and I say we, well, is it on my predecessors potentially?
Sure.
Again, this is that somewhat. We came in, we filled out that paperwork, we had that initial meeting with a rep, we got all of the information we possibly could, and our first opinion of what this was going to be, right? And so if you've just come in and you sign the papers and you walk back out and you didn't get that one-on-one interaction,
Absolutely.
In the beginning, any sort of welcome to the union, this is what it's all about.
Yep.
If it was just paperwork filled out, people walk back out the door and they have no idea what they've even belong to.
Welcome to the union. This is it right here.
Well,
we're telling you all about it right now.
Well, and again, it's that lack of education, right? And so I think that people are starting to, our members included, are really opening their eyes right now with the current political climate that's happening, and that they're looking to us for answers. And look and help fix it. Go get the work. I mean, that's all. It's all very valid that they're looking for but it's also our job to educate them on the history of unions. How did we form? How did we get here? How did we get to these project labor agreements? Why do we support these people in policy? Why are we going to support the next ones that are going to run? Why are we grooming you to run for office?
Speaking of,
why aren't our members being groomed to run for some sort of leadership?
actually, both of you
or
motherfuckers.
whatever, or our reps. I mean, it's the natural progression of leadership anyways. Our members come in if they've had a good experience with their first initial introduction to the union. The first thing they want to do is, oh, that's great. I think I'll go to this union meeting that this guy's talking about, or this woman's talking about. So they show up and they start to learn the things. And the more you show up, and it's probably happened with all of us, we came to our meetings.
Yep.
We volunteered our time. We raised our hand when somebody needed an answer or wanted us to do something for the greater good of our union. And so natural progression was that we ended up in these rooms as representation for the rest of our membership. We were the ones speaking up at meetings. And so as that progresses, where do we go from here, right? That's the same with all of our membership. If they just have that initial education potentially, or any of the education, that's like, this is the progression of leadership in the union and as a member. Not to say that everybody's gonna, the rep job is a end all be all. I'm talking about being a leader on your job, being a leadership in your apprenticeship class, being a leader at your company, being a steward at your shop, whatever that looks like, for them to, speak up about the things that you've read about and support the union you belong to, because that's where it's at. I mean, if it was 1,000 of us or 6,500 of our IUPAT DC5 members that all supported each other in the way that we're talking about, the numbers don't lie, right? We just, when they say together we bargain, united we bargained, divided we beg, right? And that is like that it's like the big fish eats the little fish and all the fish eat the big fish.
Right.
Preach.
So, I have thoughts.
Okay.
This is why I asked you both to come in here.
You're gonna be fired. You're gonna be fired up. All right. I want to talk a little bit about the history of labor that is almost never talked about, and there is. It is one of the reasons also that should be discussed, or at least should not be understated when we talk about the decline in union density in this country, and that is that we, being unions, are almost all, in some manner or another, democratic institutions. And that's good in many ways.
Not the political party, we are democratic.
The actual union itself, meaning specifically that, generally speaking, members in construction vote to approve or ratify their collective bargaining agreements. And in most unions, certainly ours, you vote for your local business representative. Well, that's we can understand why that's good. It is also, upon reflection, and now with decades of history to look at, created a cycle that has led us to a unique place. And also, I see it changing, and I'll get to that in a second. But we would see individuals elected, and usually it's a 3 or 4 year term. And oftentimes they would run on some sort of campaign of like, I'm going to fight the man, or I'm going to push back against the international union, or whatever the perception was. They or what, the contractors or the politicians, whatever the big issue is for some area, and they would find out almost immediately that they're either unable or unwilling to do that, and to do the things that they said that they were going to do, and all this stuff, and I'm going to tear it down and rebuild it, or whatever. And failing to realize that we're all part of something bigger than ourselves. I mean, that's a fundamental failure of not understanding how the machine operates. And 3 or 4 years go by, and then the next charismatic foreman type figure out of the field comes in and says, I'm going to push back and do a better job than that guy, and I'm going to tell, so-and-so, the international union, or I'm going to tell, these contractors to pound sand. They get elected, bring in all their friends, by the way, as organizers and assistants and this, that, and the other, go 3 or 4 years, and then they get unelected, and meanwhile,
perpetual cycle of, let's call them apprentices.
Well, let's call them rookies.
Well, because they never get.
So
this
is the problem.
Yes.
Now we, the members of the union, are sending a rookie in to do
Yeah.
business with real life businessmen, guys that have made it succeed in one of the most cutthroat businesses there is, construction. And you're asking some painter or glazer to come in and negotiate a collective bargaining agreement, to write that agreement, and then to enforce that agreement. And then what happens is, now you're looking again over like a history of decades, you see a stagnation in wages. And what does that do? Pisses off the members worse. And so all of a sudden, it becomes like this death spiral. And you can see it in like individual locals in their history, or, you know, however far you want to look at it, whatever, you know, micro or macro. Part of that problem that came with that was that, at least for the past 55 years, we've had the largest cohort of workers in the history of our country, the baby boomer generation in the workforce. So there was not a tremendous need to bring in fresh new people in the workforce or into union leadership. And so what that meant was that every 3 or 4 years, you're electing a new business rep, but he was also bringing in all new organizers and all of his friends, basically all of his buddies or whoever, to all the different staffing positions. Well, these were also older folks that were closer to retirement. So I was hired at 25 as a full-time union organizer, and this is 2007. I'm 43 now. And it was unheard of. I went to the first couple conferences with union, and I was easily 20 or 30 years younger than everybody in the room. And they told me, hey, it's going to change. We're going to start getting, you know, more young people in, this, that. All right. And fast forward what has now been 18 years or something, June 1st, a couple days away.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. Yeah, it's coming right up. It's fun being the old guy, actually. It's awesome. But
you're the old guy now. Is what you're saying.
I'm the old guy now, yeah. But what's fun is to see that the shift did happen. It hasn't been just young people, but we've got more women, we've got more minorities, we've got a more diverse leadership reflecting the membership that we're honored to represent, and that's great. And what that means is the members now get a return on their investment in us.
Right.
So part of the problem has been the constant unending political attacks, mostly from the right, let's be honest, over decades. Part of the problem is just the structure that we've had, and it's good that we're democratic institutions, but we have also had a bad habit of putting in a bunch of rookies against real life businessmen, which is it's been a struggle. But we're shifting that up now, and I'm happy to see that.
You've always said it perfectly. What you just said,
it's not a stepping stone to retirement.
Well, not that piece, which is also true, but you're the first one I heard say, you know, we elect a new business rep, whatever local it is, right? And just like you said, it's a rookie that comes in. There is no fucking orientation here. There is no training, really. There, you really get thrown at the fucking wolves.
Yeah. It takes 3 years to know what the heck you're doing.
And that's exactly what she told me, was it takes 3 to 4 years to learn what you're doing. And at that point, you're now up for the next election. Right. You're pissed off the membership. The membership votes you out. And now you got another fucking rookie coming.
Yeah, no, it's not a great cycle for a local to get stuck in.
Absolutely.
It'll stagnate your wages for 2 decades like that.
Right.
Before you notice it, you're just the bottom of the building trades and wages. It'll burn you badly.
So I guess I'm pleading with the membership of every local out there, of every union, give them a fucking break for a minute.
Well, and to invest in them, support. That's where this support comes from. Like, so let's support our reps, right? We've elected them. This is the person that we've chosen. Yeah. Whether you showed up or not, that's the person you wanted elected, right? And put into that place. So let's give them that opportunity to one. It's like having a brand new apprentice on the job. Yeah. You're not knocking that apprentice down because they don't know how to do their job. Right. You're doing whatever you can to help them be a better worker, right? And so I guess that's the same as for our reps, is they need that opportunity to get those hours in that 3-4 years, and they're barely even scratching the surface. I've been here 8 years. I just went through my anniversary. Learn something new every day. And
just learned how to use email. No,
right. Our jobs. Our jobs. Also shift through those times, like again through political parties, through the electing of new business managers, new reps, new whoever it is we're dealing with, new e-boards. our e-boards and our delegates and everybody coming in and out and having to retrain them. And so now it's our job to now train them. So having new people that are also training your e-boards and delegates and trustees of, about our money and, they're important positions. And so again, each time that we have a new person, it's a brand new start for them. Right. So you're right.
Consistency in leadership. And this is not to say you shouldn't be satisfied with subpar leadership.
Absolutely. No, absolutely.
I like what you said about supporting them and that's kind of like investing in yourself, as a union member. And I suppose that's as strong as argument as you could make to show up to union meetings, be involved in the union. But consistency in leadership is important. And that is an even stronger argument to hiring younger people, because once you get the right one, but you got them for a long time.
When you say consistency, though, I want to clarify here.
Sure.
You don't mean consistently the same person in that role, because you're, like you said earlier, if they do a shitty job, vote them the fuck out. But you want consistency in the fact that each rep that ever, or leader of whoever gets put in these positions, knows what they're doing and does a good job. That's the consistency you're talking about.
Well, I mean, both. If they're not doing a good job and they're not cut out for it, usually they'll select themselves out.
Right.
The average career I heard once, I don't know if it's true, is 3 years for a union rep organizer. These jobs are tough.
Yeah.
And so most people will quit or just whatever, if they're not cut out for it. You want them to be consistently good at it, but you do want the same people there. And by the way, I'm going to say this is a hill I'll die on. I believe that the best business reps have spent time as organizers. It doesn't mean that every organizer has to become a business rep, but you should know. You should have that experience. It doesn't mean that you can't be a good business rep if you weren't an organizer. And this is not an all-encompassing, I'm not speaking with like absolutes here.
We live in an absolute world anymore, but
it actually gives you that. You're right about that, because it gives organizers, talk to non-union workers, they talk to union workers, they talk to contractors, they talk to, they get the ability to.
Politicians.
Yeah, you don't have to do one or the other, or have to have it be that way for it to succeed. All I'm saying is these unions are complex machines. You and I have talked in the past about, the 4 pillars of the union being servicing. Those are the union members we've already got. That's negotiating your collective bargaining agreements, etc. Organizing. Those are the 2 primary, right? Which is bringing in new members, talking to non-union contractors. Government affairs, we've kind of already talked about how important that is, protecting us against attacks that, or passing good labor policies, and then training and apprenticeship. And that's it. So those are the 4 main things that hold up this entire idea of organized labor in the building trades. That's a lot to learn in any individual one. And then to know how they all integrate is particularly challenging. So as much exposure as you can have as a union leader to the different, aspects of what makes a labor union function is going to make you better at your job. Duh.
So this is going really fucking well, by the way. I did not expect it to go this well. But that being said, we're looking at 45 minutes here. And I know I promised you 20.
Let it rip, man.
No, I understand.
Oh, she's got to go.
I know, but the other piece of this too is somebody's going to turn this off before an hour. So
maybe not.
That's true. All right, fuck it. Let's go 3 hours.
No.
Joe Rogan does every fucking day.
We are not fucking Joe Rogan.
Well, I'm just saying, you can do 3-hour podcasts.
That's fair. That's fair.
I don't like them when they're too short. I'll just speak for myself. I listen to podcasts constantly. I love them when they're in the hour. But, eat different strokes for different spokes.
I tell you what.
You can cut clips out of this, dude, that are going to
No. I'm not cutting shit out of this. This is going really fucking well.
No.
What I'm saying is you can get your 2-minute blurb or your 1-minute blurb.
I've edited plenty of shitty videos. I know what I'm doing. But the whole anybody can look at our YouTube channel and see new guy. But anyway, whole point.
Good, man.
Man, I really am jazzed about this.
I want to speak to the youth before we go, and even if it's one-on-one, but go ahead.
We are, and I'm not necessarily
go.
I'm not necessarily wrapping this up, but I did want to throw. It's been 45 minutes, and we are getting pretty deep into the weeds here. And that's the other thing too, is we're talking about educating the members again, right?
Yeah.
I even said that.
No, you're
right. And then
Couples.
I think it was the very first episode that Savannah and I did in here a couple months ago or whatever it was. That is something I'm trying to bring up over and over again, right?
Yeah. You're
this
right.
is one of the tools I'm hoping can
Well,
do
yeah.
that. But the edge.
Agree with
Oh
you.
fuck! I kind of lost my train of thought.
Educating members.
Educate
Back to
members. That's still not bringing me back.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
You and Savannah were talking about something.
no, but you said what did you just say? How did you your last comment? You just wrapped up with we were talking
The
about
4 pillars.
The 4 pillars. I mean, that's good.
Oh,
education
the
piece.
more you can be exposed to the different things.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So I know where. So we're talking about reps come in completely green, no fucking idea what they're doing. Where do they get that experience? If and I know there's members out there. You come to that women's committee meeting and you see people starving to be leaders in this organization. Let me tell you right now, the women's committee is where it's fucking at. That being said, where do those folks who are dying to become leaders here, where do they start?
So I mean, again, they start by coming to their meetings. They start by becoming leaders on their job sites. They start becoming leaders in their apprenticeships.
So how are you a leader on a job site?
Being a leader is just like stepping up and speaking up for workers and knowing getting to know your contract.
Enforce your contract, yeah.
Getting to know your contract, getting to know the documentations that make up our union, our bylaws, our constitution, understanding
Super exciting reads, by the way.
Yes, super exciting. Like
Parts of it are your work rules and
Fair,
conditions,
fair.
and you know,
Yes.
there's a couple paragraphs in there that every member should know pretty well.
Absolutely, and and not necessarily even, you don't have to remember the whole thing. You just have to know that that's where you find your information.
Know your rights.
As his reps, I never quote a contract without looking at it. So I know where to find them, right? I know to find every single contract that I work with, and so I know to go to the contract and can search for wages and working conditions or whatever it is they're looking for. So that's a huge part of it.
Yeah, it's union meeting night. Are you encouraging your fellow people on the job site to go to the meeting? Being a leader in a job site, and any apprentice can do that on day one. Being involved in the union, I don't want to overuse the cliche, but knowing how the machine operates is rule number one, basic, thing number one to learn if you're going to be aspired to be in leadership. And there's a lot of opportunities to do that, whether it's testifying at an assembly meeting or writing a letter of support for a good piece of legislation. If you're an apprentice in the union and your union is advocating the state legislature for apprenticeship utilization requirements on jobs, write a letter of your own personal testimony. That stuff is powerful. Get involved in that type of thing.
I'm going to interrupt just real quick,
please.
because just leadership, again, I'm going to go back to what I said a little while ago, is that, a lot of times people are like, I want to be the union rep. That's not necessarily the leadership within, yes, that's here at the union in this building, but it's on the job, it's safety wise, it's, it's advocating for the contractor, it's reminding folks that like, no, that was our overtime pay. We were supposed to get that. So with the contractor, right? It's with the GC, it's with their direct boss, it's with, their fellow workers. It's, maybe they're standing up their kids' PTA. It's, maybe joining the PTA.
So let's use that example. What are you doing? Like when you say standing up at your kids' PTA, what does that mean?
Like advocating for your kids at school. I mean, your leadership doesn't just mean there's like a job title that you're going for, right?
Yeah.
Leadership means that.
I thought you were talking specifically like advocating
No,
school board meetings for PLAs and stuff, which is also something. But
that too, yes. And so for me, I just believe that leadership is a leader creates followers.
Absolutely.
So in order to be a leader, you have to have people who are looking at you to lead. And so it's not a job title, it's a way of life. And so being a leader is...
When you see wrong, do something to right it.
Exactly.
When you see right, do something to raise it up.
Right.
Yeah.
What other things can I just come up with here?
Positive accountability is how I heard that described recently.
I like that.
Which I appreciated.
The world could use a little more positivity right now. So.
Yeah.
Can I say goodbye now? Can I
Are
cut
you
out
out of
now?
here?
I gotta get out of here.
Right.
Well, let's wrap it
Okay.
up. Because this was really fucking. Thank you both.
Yeah.
This was not intended to happen today. You forced it to happen, and now you're bolting on us. But you totally have earned that. So
Yeah.
So that being said, still don't know how to fucking end these things.
It's okay.
Other than to say,
One union, one family, one fight. Everybody get a hand in. One union, one family, one fight. Woo!
Yeah. But actually, no, I'm sorry. I will end it with this. If somebody wants to get involved, what's the first thing they should do?
That go to their union meeting. They should be there. And whether they hear dissenting voices or hear someone from the speaking from the podium, good. They need to know that this is a place where they can be heard, and they need to make their own minds up about what is good leadership and what is going on and what's affecting them. And it won't take long for them to figure it out. I trust in the members of this union to be able to figure out the BS from what's real.
And to speak to your leaders. I mean, the main thing is like a lot of the education, I'm going to go circle back to this, like lacking kind of education on, I'm not saying our members are stupid. They just a lot of times don't know. They don't know the rules and what makes up. So
I think that's 99% of the time.
For sure. And this is an opportunity for us to educate, now political climate, all the things. That's our job, though, is to educate our members on things politically, socially, whatever it is that has to do specifically with our union, right? And so I say, talk to a union leader and ask them where the information comes from. Where do you get that information? Or like just be prepared to ask the questions instead of just assuming that because Tom on the job site or Steve or whoever,
Tom's a fucking asshole.
Tom may be a disgruntled. Tom's a disgruntled union member that he had an issue 20 years ago. He hasn't been back in the union hall, so he has an opinion about it. So our brand new apprentices are getting to go out on the job sites with the Toms or the whoever's in the world, and getting their opinion of something that may have happened 20 years ago. And so they're forming their opinion based on that disgruntled member rather than coming in and actually getting that education here in these buildings.
Beautiful.
Let me just say this. I fucking love both of you to death.
Love you too, man.
You guys are both huge fucking leaders in this organization, and I really appreciate you guys doing this today. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you talking me into this.
All right.
All right.
Break.
Now get the fuck out of here.
Me.